Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Miami Heat star frozen out in most important moment of loss to 76ers. After a lifeless third quarter that put the Miami Heat down by as much as 17 points, the Heat found a second life in the fourth quarter and tied up the game in large part due to Caleb Martin creating havoc defensively and Terry Rozier catching fire. Unfortunately, Miami fell short in their valiant comeback effort and fell to the Philadelphia 76ers, 98-91, Monday night at the Wells Fargo Center. From the opening tip, Bam Adebayo had his fingerprints all over the game as he found his teammates early and also added to his three-point streak, this time hitting a shot from the corner. Adebayo scored or assisted on the Heat's first 17 points. The 76ers double-teamed Adebayo as the game went on and dared players such as Haywood Highsmith and DeLon Wright to hit shots. The Heat only trailed by 2 points at the half, but a regrettable turnover-laced third quarter put Miami in a big hole. The Heat were outscored 28-16 in the period. With the news that Duncan Robinson was out for the remainder of the game with back discomfort and Adebayo on the bench to start the fourth, it seemed as if all hope was lost for the Heat. But Miami's full-court press caused multiple turnovers. Combined with Rozier providing the Heat with a much-needed scoring punch, Miami evened the contest at 85 with Adebayo on the bench. Adebayo checked into the game with 5:39, with Miami trailing 88-85. He did not take a shot or score a point for the remainder of the game. On a night when Adebayo had success early, Jimmy Butler, foot, was sidelined and a potential tiebreaker over the 76ers was at stake. The Heat offense went away from Adebayo at a time when he was needed the most. Instead of playing through Adebayo, the Heat settled for forced shots and the 76ers pulled away. Credit to Philadelphia for doubling Adebayo and working to prevent him from catching closer to the basket, but something had to be done against a relatively weak Philadelphia front line still without Joel Embiid. They were packing the paint like crazy, coach Eric Spoelstra told reporters after the game. If the Heat make a few more jumpers in the fourth quarter, maybe this isn't a discussion. But the team's best player needs to have a chance to win the game, especially when he is one of the few playing well. As Duncan Robinson now deals with back issue, injuries continue to mount for Heat late in season. Injuries have been one of the Miami Heat's issues throughout the season. But injuries are probably the Heat's biggest issue in the final weeks of the regular season as it fights to avoid the NBA's play-in tournament. The Heat entered Monday night's 98-91 loss without a chunk of its usual rotation, as Jimmy Butler, right foot contusion, Nikola Jovic, strained right hamstring, Tyler Herro, right foot medial tendinitis, Kevin Love, right heel bruise, and Josh Richardson, right shoulder surgery, all missed the game. Then the Heat lost Duncan Robinson midway through Monday's third quarter because of back discomfort, and he didn't return to the game. The Heat also has Bam Adebayo playing through a lower back contusion and Caleb Martin playing through a sprained left thumb. "We always feel like we have enough regardless of who's in the lineup," Robinson said, with the Heat moving on to Cleveland to close its four-game trip with a matchup against the Cavaliers on Wednesday, 7 p.m., Bally Sports Sun. "But, obviously, we haven't been full strength for a while." The Heat opened the trip by defeating the Detroit Pistons on Friday, despite missing Herro, Love and Richardson. The Heat continued its trip with another win against the Pistons on Sunday, this time without Butler, Jovic, Herro, Love and Richardson. But the Heat couldn't overcome those 5 absences again Monday against the 76ers, especially with Robinson clearly not himself in the 24 minutes he played before leaving the game early with back discomfort. Miami scored just 42 second-half points in the loss, with so much offensive firepower missing. "This is definitely not a group that's going to be making any excuses about that," Robinson said. "Guys are playing through being banged up and that's just part of what it is this time of year. Obviously, we're hoping and eager to get everybody back and fully healthy." But Robinson is not even sure whether he will be healthy enough to play in Wednesday's game against the Cavaliers. After scoring a season-high 30 points and becoming the fastest player in NBA history to make 1,000 career threes on the front end of the road back-to-back Sunday in Detroit, Robinson entered Monday's game on the back end of the back-to-back in Philadelphia, already limited by his back issue. He couldn't move coming into the game, Spoelstra said. Just the workload, everything last night, the flight or whatever. He just couldn't move. But he's a competitor and he was like, whatever we need, I'll be out there. It was tough. Robinson, who has missed just 5 games because of injuries this season, was clearly bothered by his back during Monday's game. He finished with only 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting from the field and 0 of 1 shooting from three-point range before exiting the game early. They were playing him physical, Spoelstra said. Nicholas Batum was being really physical on his off-ball movement. Anybody that has had back spasms, if you can't move and cut and feel like you can be yourself, it's a tough thing to manage. He's a big part of our offense, as we know. Just the space, the shooting, the movement, the overreactions. Even when he was in there, it was a fraction of what he could normally do just in terms of how he can move defenses around. Robinson noted that he has been dealing with back discomfort over this last stretch, but it flared up during the second half of Sunday's win over the Pistons. I just wanted to try to give it a chance, Robinson said of his decision to play Monday against the 76ers, despite the pain. Unfortunately, I probably was more of a detriment than anything, which is disappointing. But, yeah, at a certain point, we just made a judgment call that I probably wasn't going to help. When asked if he expects to play Wednesday in Cleveland, Robinson was non-committal. I don't know, Robinson said. Obviously, at this point I'm going to try to play every night that I can. Do everything that I can to play. That's kind of how I've always been. 5 unpopular trades the Miami Heat should explore this summer. No matter what happens the rest of this season, the Miami Heat face some difficult decisions this summer. The Heat are set to have one of the league's highest payrolls next season and, for a team that could be in the play-in tournament for the 2nd straight year, the cost of the roster may not be worth the results. Further complicating matters in the second luxury tax apron that Miami will be bumping up against. The Heat have made it clear that they don't plan to be a second tax team and will avoid the onerous financial penalties and roster-building constrictions associated with it. The Heat have nearly $157 million tied to 5 players, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, Terry Rozier and Duncan Robinson, for next season. The easiest way to create some cap relief is to trade at least one of them while taking less money back. But the Heat could also make other moves to create more flexibility. This is where the difficult decisions come in. These moves might be unpopular, but they are worth exploring. Herro has been involved in trade rumors for the better part of the last 2 years, and while his name has been mentioned as a cornerstone piece in a package for stars like Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard, the Heat might have to settle for something less. Making $29 million next season, Herro's contract might be tough to move after this season. Though he is averaging career highs in points, 20.8, and assists, 4.4, he's played in only 36 games and it's unclear if he will return this regular season. If the Heat can't turn Herro and other assets into a star player this summer, they may have to salary dump him to a young team in need of scoring. Teams like the Detroit Pistons, Orlando Magic, Indiana Pacers and Utah Jazz are projected to have enough cap space to absorb Herro's deal. The Heat could ask for a player making less money and draft picks in exchange. Based on the trade targets Herro was associated with before, this could be seen as selling low on Herro's value. But it also might be necessary for the Heat to escape their tricky luxury tax situation. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation, Tyler Herro? Leave your opinion in the comments.